Hi, Kevin.
Hey, Victoria.
It's good to see you.
It's been a month of Sundays since we've met.
Yeah, you seem to have been very busy recently. I haven't had a chance to catch up with you.
Yeah, I have been. It's been a busy time at SHI. We just passed our premier event around end user compute and had a lot of customers out at our facility.
Yeah, we got your Mac had a stand there as well.
Yeah, it was shocking to walk in and see my face at a booth.
Yeah, it sounds like it was good fun and a lot of interesting discussions.
Yeah, a lot of engaging customers. I got a lot of feedback of other events that people go to that you're just really there for the stickers and the fancy erasers, but people were engaged, asking questions, challenging us, giving us new things to go build for them. So it was a lot of fun. I'm exhausted though.
Actually, thinking back over season one while we were prepping for season two, because everybody keeps on saying to me, "What were the standout moments?" And you know what? All of it.
I think where we ended was the highlight. So Adam and I put on Apple Vision Pro and did an unboxing and sort of a walkthrough. Adam did an interview with you in it.
Yeah.
And so I think that was one of the highlights, especially seeing now that it's finally come to our channel and SHI can resell Apple Vision Pro to our customers. And so for me, that was the highlight, kind of how we ended.
I mean, I have to say, I still can't get over how much I enjoyed that interview with Adam and understanding what it must be like to be in Vision Pro. But on that point, we're going to be doing a lot of different things differently in season two and digging into some of the topics we brought up. And one of the things I know you're going to be doing with us is having some conversations about some of the enterprise use cases for Vision Pro now that we're starting to work with customers with it.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I've been in extended reality, virtual reality, head-mounted displays for 5 years or so. Call it what you want. Now Apple's calling it spatial computing. And so I really am interested in that killer app, how enterprises are using the Vision Pro. And it really is going to center around the app ecosystem, what these enterprises are building themselves and what they can pull off the shelf from the Apple Vision Pro App Store, which is pretty slim right now.
Yeah, well, we're certainly, we're planning that in for fairly soon. So we're looking forward to what you're going to be talking about then. It's going to be really exciting and new stuff for me to find out about. So we've got lots of different topics lined up. And one of the things we're starting off in this episode is we're following a deployment project through the whole of this season. Hopefully, we're changing the format slightly, as I think we've talked about before. And so we've actually got two interviews for this episode. The first of which is talking to Tom Rice, who we spoke to in episode 4 in season 1. He's going to talk about that project with us. And then the second part of this episode, we're talking to Rachel Schiff, who I know you know really well.
Yeah, both of them are experts in their field. It'll be interesting to watch Tom through a Mac deployment throughout the season. And Rachel and I have been together on the Apple team for over a decade. And so her experience of using Mac at work is going to be, I think, enlightening to our listeners.
And on that note, let's go ahead and hear from our two guests today.
Let's do it.
Hi, Tom. Welcome back to We Got Your Mac. We had a great chat back in season 1, episode 4. You came along and had a chat to us about some of the challenges people have with managing Mac in an enterprise and Windows-dominated environment. And now we're at the beginning of season 2. So I know we've got an exciting project that we want to discuss with you. We're going to follow you through some work that you're doing with a client over the course of the season. But just to start off with, before we get into this, for those people who haven't already met you in season 1, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me back on We Got Your Mac, Victoria. My name is Tom Rice, and I lead the Apple Solutions Engineering practice here at SHI. My team is responsible for helping customers pick out that Apple technology they would like to adopt or expand in their environments. And once they pick out that technology, they help them integrate it into their environments, help them get it set up for their employees to use, integrate with their current IT solutions, and generally establish a more secure, easy to use methodology and framework for getting those Macs integrated into their day-to-day operations.
That sounds like there are quite a lot of challenges in there, but it sounds like there are some commonalities that you come across at a high level with the challenges people have. And then individual organizations, I'm guessing, in the detail, the challenges are often different, but in general, they may well be quite similar.
Yeah, the devil is always in the details, right? But essentially, all of these workflows are to a point repeatable. Everybody wants to get Macs out in their organization or other Apple devices. They need them managed. They need them connected to the various systems they have. And while those systems may be, intrinsically different depending upon the organization, they're typically performing the same functions, whether it's security, identity, things like that. So at a very high level, yes, we've established very repeatable workflows that we just differentiate based upon the specific, technology that the customer is using.
So tell us a little bit about this customer then, Tom. Obviously, without giving away anything confidential or telling us who they are, but just giving us an idea of what is this organization like? How big are they? What kind of organization? Geographically, where are they?
Sure. So this is a fairly large retail style organization, greater than 10,000 employees, multiple retail locations within the US. So, and also corporate and back offices as well, and logistically supporting those operations is for their retail stores and for their back office knowledge workers.
Yeah.
The main challenge we had with them, or the main ask, I should say, that they came to us with, is that they wanted to take their legacy point of sale system and replace it with a more current third-party POS system that runs on Apple devices, so iPads, iPhones. And not only is it easier to support than trying to maintain legacy code, this is a POS system that's widely used, but also it gives their employees in the retail space more interaction with the customers. They're not tied to a counter. They can walk around to the customers, help them pick out what they need, and perhaps even check them out, wherever they are in the store.
Yeah, because it's always a struggle when you're looking for where do I go to pay, and somewhere about 3,000 miles away, there's a tiny little sign that says pay here.
Exactly. Or, they found too, especially with employees during the holiday season, that they're behind the counters ringing people up, and somebody inevitably needs, and rightfully so, wants help on the floor. And those employees can't get away because they're stuck behind, whatever they're doing at the moment. So this makes everybody much more flexible and, much more personalized shopping experience. They found out while they were deploying these iPads and iOS devices that their employees started asking, well, if we're deploying Apple devices, then why can't we deploy Macs as well? Many of the back office workers were using PCs currently. Some of them were dated and due to be refreshed anyway. And they said, well, if we're supporting Apple, then why don't we support all of Apple? Because we're comfortable using the Macs. We like using the Macs. We have one at home. We have an iPad at home or an iPhone that connects with our Mac. Maybe we've just come out of school and their university gave them a Mac. But so that really got them thinking, well, maybe we could deploy Macs to replace some of our PCs as they come up to be refreshed.
Okay, so the mobile devices and that need for mobility on the shop floor were kind of the original conversation. But then it's a case of, if we're offering that kind of technology, then let's give a choice to everybody in the organization, find out what's most appropriate for them. That's a lot of what we talked about in season 1, was about enabling those employees to do the best job they possibly can by giving them the technology that they feel makes them most effective.
Exactly. It's it's all about the concept of employee choice. It's not necessarily a whole rip and replace, so to speak. Exactly to your point. It's giving those employees the technology they want that both enables them to do their jobs and helps them do their jobs more efficiently, and that they're more comfortable using and they're familiar with. So, it was just a more pleasurable employee experience all around. And obviously that not everybody necessarily wants a Mac or is able to work on a Mac, but for those employees who can, they realized it was a good decision for them.
Okay, so you've got a project now where you've got vertical specific retail software that you've got to put on your mobile devices and integrate those in. You've then got traditional back office where you're going to be offering a choice of Mac or PC. So you've got to get those integrated as well. So obviously there's the whole piece about we've got to design that solution and deploy it, working with probably their existing technologies in terms of management and security, working out how we get their existing applications, a new point of sale software that they're going for, but also potentially some legacy applications going to be in there, because there's nobody out there who's been around for more than 5 minutes who doesn't have legacy applications. And then clearly we've got to make sure that their end users, well, it sounds like their end users are going to be comfortable with the technology. And also, I guess, make sure that once the implementation is done, then there's got to be the support in place to make sure that those end users have the support they need regardless of platform.
Right, exactly. And I'll address your last point first too. This organization currently, because they're dispersed geographically and because they have a lot of different functions, they found out that it was easier in some respects to contract out a lot of their IT support. Yeah. But with that and, wanting to have a more employee-centric experience and a more user-friendly experience, they realized perhaps it's time to bring some of that support in-house. And if we're changing, we're adopting new platforms, let's adopt maybe new methodologies of supporting our users using those platforms. So with that, once we get through this, deployment project, part of that is helping them, get their help desk ready, take on internal IT staff, train those resources up and get them ready. And then yes, there is a large jump you mentioned with a legacy environment. There's a switch involved, right? So the first task here was we have all these iOS, iPads and iPhone devices, and now we're going to start taking on Macs. Well, how do we manage them? So the first step was to design a management solution for them and then build out that management solution to integrate with all that legacy technology and see what in fact was legacy. Some of that was perhaps legacy that could be replaced with current versions of those applications, more Mac specific versions. Some of that may have needed to be replaced with newer technology, if applicable to those Mac users. And maybe some didn't need to be replaced at all because it worked perfectly fine where it was.
Well, it sounds like your team have got an interesting time ahead of them then. And it sounds like we're going to have some interesting conversations as we go through this season. I guess the question is, which is going to finish first? Season 2, have we got your Mac or the project?
It'll be neck and neck. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Thank you very much for coming back and talking to us. And we look forward to speaking to you again soon and finding out how you and your customer and your team are getting on.
All right. Thank you. Look forward to updating you along the way.
Your employees love Mac. Its sleek design and intuitive interface make work a breeze. But for you, the IT manager, Mac can feel like a puzzle with missing pieces. Integration headaches, security concerns, the dreaded migration process. Sound familiar? SHI gets it. We're not just another tech vendor. We are your strategic partner in building a Mac-centric workplace that works for everyone. Our complimentary Mac readiness assessment is like an X-ray for your IT environment, revealing the exact steps you need to take for a successful Mac deployment. We'll guide you through security, locking down Mac's built-in defenses so your data stays safe, deployment, streamlining your setup so Macs hit the ground running, integration, making sure Mac plays nice with your existing systems, migration, moving from old devices to new without losing a beat, and more. We'll tackle any Mac challenges you throw our way. But that's not all. For a limited time, eligible customers who complete the assessment get a free trial of top-tier MDM solutions like Jamf Pro or Conji. It's like a test drive before you buy the car. SHI isn't just about selling you Macs. We're about making Mac work for you. Zero-touch deployment? Check. Effortless integration with your existing MDM? Double check. Empowered, productive Mac users from day one? You bet. Don't just manage Mac. Master it. Discover how SHI's Mac Readiness Assessment can unlock the full potential of your Apple fleet. Contact us today or visit shi.com/Mac assessment. Your Mac Power future starts now. We got your Mac covered.
Hi, Rachel. Welcome to We Got Your Mac.
Hi, Victoria. Thanks for having me.
So you've come to talk to us about how you use your Mac at work and how it makes you more effective in your working life. But before we start on that, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do here at SHI?
Sure. So I've been at SHI for 16 years. I started out in inside sales and then moved over to the hardware team on the Apple team after 6 years. So when I joined the Apple team, I had the new job jitters, but I also had never used a Mac before. So I had pretty crazy anxiety about joining the team and using a platform that I've never used before.
Really? So that was a lifetime of Windows use and suddenly having to move to something different.
Yeah, and I loved my Windows platform. I was very, very, efficient. I've always been on really high volume teams where there's just tons of stuff coming at you. So being organized and was really paramount in really all of my roles here at SHI. But going to a new platform with a new workflow for organization completely freaked me out. But I was really lucky. I mean, it only took me really a week to feel really proficient with using a Mac. So it was a really good experience. And then fast forward on the Apple team, I was on the Apple team for 10 years. I became a hiring manager. So all the people that I had hired after I had joined, no one had any issues using a Mac. Everyone was like, yep, know how to use it. So I never ran into that ever again after me. So yeah, I must have been like that cusp, that millennial cusp.
So what you're seeing then as a hiring manager is that people coming into the workplace who are already very familiar with Apple products and comfortable working on a Mac.
Yeah, exactly. But now in my current role, I'm manufacturer neutral. My role is client solutions executive, and I always joke that it's really just a fancy term for manufacturer neutral. We have great partnerships with all the top OEMs. So now I have wonderful partnerships with all the other OEMs other than Apple. So it's been a great time at SHI.
So do you now use both, or are you still using Apple, or have you gone back to Windows?
So when I was in my interviews for this role, one of my first questions to my hiring manager was, can I keep my Mac?
Okay.
After using it and getting really, really proficient with it, I do find that I'm way more efficient. I have this great workflow for my organization. So it was really, really important for me in my next role to keep my Mac, and SHI said, sure, of course, if you feel more comfortable using a Mac, you should definitely use it. So I used a Mac now.
So do you think it actually makes you, I mean, you've talked about workflows, do you think it makes you more efficient using the Mac platform?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely way more efficient. Things, especially because I use an iPad and iPhone, it's so much easier to multitask. 50% of the time I'm traveling. So it's just so easy to get everything done no matter where I am. If I'm in a security line at an airport or at a coffee shop, it just makes it so easy to make sure that I stay on top of everything.
Yeah, and that's interesting because it's one of the things that's come up time and time in these conversations, the idea that everything is just there across the whole ecosystem, so that you can just move from one device to another depending on what's appropriate for the situation that you're in.
Absolutely. When I'm on a plane, I can't work on my MacBook Pro. I need my iPad. It has that smaller form factor. I'm less worried about somebody crushing my screen when they lean back. So really the whole ecosystem just makes it so easy to just seamlessly get everything done.
So are there any particular apps or features other than this ability to work across the ecosystem that you think make you particularly more effective, not just at work, but actually in your personal life as well?
I'm a huge fan of the Notes app. I really use that to organize myself in work and for personal, all my grocery lists. Really, Notes is what keeps me going, and having it on all of my devices has been so paramount in keeping me on top of everything. If I'm out at a customer meeting and a rep calls me on the side, I can pull up my notes immediately and be able to use that. So no matter where I am, I'm prepared for whatever is coming at me.
So you're fully bought into the Apple ecosystem now. Do you use other Apple products at home?
I do. I'm not typically an early adopter, but I did buy a Vision Pro once it hit the market.
Oh, wow.
I just felt like having another year or two with a brand new device is just so important. And because I do love all my Apple products, I decided I was going to take a leap and try it out. And it's been so mind blowing. I can't wait to see how it grows as there are more applications developed for that device.
So what are you primarily using it for at the moment? Because I had, as you know, I had a conversation with Adam about it, and even watching him or interviewing him within Vision Pro was pretty mind-blowing. We were obviously there talking about the business application of it and how it's making the vast number of documents that he's trying to keep under control much easier to control than having them across multiple screens. But I guess, if you're using it in your personal life, your use case is going to be slightly different.
Oh, yeah. I'm using it mostly for movies, television. It's great when folding laundry. I can watch Downton Abbey while I'm folding. So that's really mostly what I've been using it for. But I feel like I need to sit down and really play around with it to see all of the use cases and applications. I've seen people use it while cooking, and that looks amazing because I'm a very disorganized cook.
That sounds like an absolutely brilliant idea, because I always find that I've lost the page on the recipe, whether it, or my screen's gone to sleep because I've taken so long, or I'm not quite sure what it should look like, and I'm back and forth. So that to me sounds not necessarily obvious, but the moment you mention it, it sounds like a really sensible use of the product.
Absolutely. And the immersive experiences are completely mind-blowing. You're transformed and transported to a different place, and that's just one of the most amazing feelings that technology can do that.
So what would you say to somebody who maybe was a lifelong Windows user and is being given the option of moving to Mac for work?
So I do really believe that people should use the platform that they feel most comfortable and productive on. But if you have just fear that's stopping you from trying a Mac and really seeing if it could work for you, either for work or for personal, I would say make that leap, try it out. Especially if you're an iPhone user. I had an iPhone at the time when I had first gotten my Mac. And I felt like that made it so much easier to adopt. I already knew a lot of the mechanics of iOS, and Mac OS has just become a lot more like iOS in some ways. So I think people will find themselves a lot more comfortable with it than they imagine. So yeah, I would say try it. But if it's not for you, that's totally okay too. Windows devices are pretty amazing. I thought about switching over to Windows when Copilot was coming out, and I wasn't sure if it was going to be available on a Mac. But once I heard that was going to be available on Mac, I said, okay, I'll stick with my Mac. But there's really cool technology on both sides of the house.
So when we've got customers who are looking at, rolling out Mac at scale and how to deal with it, I guess from what you're saying, it sounds like they really need to give their end users the opportunity to try the different platforms. For people who've historically used Mac, to try Windows 11. For people who've historically used Windows, to try a Mac, because things are changing all the time. And it might be that those individuals in the roles they're in, a different platform might be the answer for them.
Absolutely. And on my team now, I'm one of the only Mac users. So I was a little bit nervous. I was like, am I going to be able to, work as well with everybody else who does not have a Mac? And there's really no difference.
Yeah.
Sharing documents, sharing ideas, and collaborating is just as easy.
Yeah.
So yeah, no worries on a mixed environment. So now no more technology anxiousness on my end.
That's great to hear. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Rachel. We appreciate your time, and carry on enjoying your experience with Vision Pro. We look forward to hearing more about that.
Thanks, Victoria. I appreciate it.
So, Kevin, I hope you think I got some good information out of our guest then.
It was fun to listen to Tom and Rachel, especially about retail, which is something that's near and dear to my heart. For whatever reason, it's been really, really fun to deploy Apple in retail over the years.
So I understand that you've actually done some work with the team working on this project as well.
I have. Yeah. It's one of the most innovative uses of iPhone I've ever seen. But retailer were like first movers advantage when it came to iOS and now into Mac. And so it's fun to watch how mature retail has gotten with Apple products. They're using purpose-built cameras to do things, and we're just helping to support the deployment so that they can do the cool use cases that they found themselves.
You know, what I learned from that is the point you make that, you know, retail is maturing significantly. We've got this trend to, you can check out wherever you are in the store. You're not having to sit and wait in line. So from the customer's point of view, the number of times I've been wandering around trying to find where the checkout is because I just want to pay for the thing and get out. Yeah. And then obviously it's not just as simple as, hey, we're giving everyone an iPhone. We've actually got to integrate it with their legacy systems, third-party systems. So it's actually quite a significant lift for their IT people and us.
It's not easy at all. I mean, there's a lot of back-end ERP systems and CRM systems. So the way that customers take payments and track sales all have to integrate into these iOS devices. And so some of it is not as modern as you would think. And so there is a lot of work to be done in connecting to these legacy systems.
Yeah. And the other thing that I thought was interesting was the fact that because they're now using iOS in the stores, everybody, you know, there was the whole, well, why can't we use Mac? Actually feeling able to stand up and say, we want that choice.
Yeah, once you see it in one use case, like in the front of the store with customers, then it does beg the question, what about the back corporate office?
And I thought that was an interesting connection with the conversation with Rachel, because obviously two completely separate conversations.
Yeah.
But I thought what was interesting in the discussion with Rachel is she wasn't pushing it. She's not one of these people who is so Apple obsessed that she's like, you've got to use it. You have to use it. She was very clear on the whole point about choice, about people using what helps them to be most effective in the workplace.
Yeah, at this point, happy and healthy employees are productive employees, but it really is about what the user wants to use and what makes them feel more fulfilled, happier when they're working.
Well, we've got a lot of exciting things to cover this season. It's great to be back in the studio with you again, Kevin, and looking forward to actually spending a bit more time with you and catching up on some of these discussions again.
I can't wait, Victoria. It's been too long. We're finally back, and I can't wait to see what season 2 brings to the table.